Good day everyone, this is Rob Lodge introducing the topic of atoms as the building blocks of matter to you today. I'm looking forward to discussing this topic with you because everything around you is made up of atoms. Let's delve into it. As you know, matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. You learned this in your grade 7 syllabus. This year we're going to look at matter being made up of tiny particles called atoms, and we're going to use this concept of atoms to help us classify matter into two distinct groups. Firstly, pure substances, and secondly, mixtures. Now, taking it one step further, pure substances can be classified into elements and into compounds. Now, elements are unique in that they are made up of only one type of atom, whereas compounds, on the other hand, are made up of more than one type of atom. And this is the key thing. These atoms are chemically bonded to each other. Mixtures, on the other hand, as the word implies, is simply a mixture of any other substances. Let's have a look at some examples. Some examples of elements with one type of atom would be pure gold, 24 karat gold, or activated carbon, which is pure carbon. Examples of compounds, on the other hand, the first example we've got in front of us there is quartz crystals, silicon and oxygen atoms bonded together. The next example we've got here is salt crystals, sodium and chlorine atoms bonded together. The next example, as you can see in that beautiful picture, is water, hydrogen and oxygen atoms bonded together. So there we have compounds which are made up of more than one different type of atom bonded together. Let's turn our eye to mixtures. The first, most obvious example we have of mixtures is salt water that we come across in the sea. It is a mixture of salt and water. Another example of mixtures is the air around us, which is made up of nitrogen mainly, which is also containing oxygen, some carbon dioxide, and some water. Let's have a look now at the atom itself. Let's turn our attention onto this tiny particle. You would have heard about it in your grade 7 syllabus, but today we're going to look at it in terms of what it's made up of. It comprises, to start off with, a nucleus, which is found at the center of the atom. And then there's a lot of empty space around that nucleus. The atom itself has got 3 subatomic particles, which are listed in the table as shown. The first subatomic particle is the proton. The proton carries a positive charge and is found in the nucleus. Then neutrons, which carry no charge, they are also found in the nucleus. And lastly, electrons, which carry a negative charge, and they orbit around the nucleus. Now, the atom as a whole is neutral because the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons. Let's look at some facts about elements. Firstly, elements are made up of atoms of the same kind. Secondly, the atoms of one element are different to the atoms of the other elements. A very important fact is that an element cannot be broken down into simpler substances by chemical means. This is, in fact, how they found out that water is not an element. When they passed electricity through water, they produced hydrogen and oxygen. Therefore, water is not an element. Some more facts about elements include the periodic table. We list the elements on the periodic table, and these elements combine to form millions of different compounds. That is why we call the elements the building blocks of the universe. Now, the elements can combine with each other from the same element to form diatomic molecules. For example, hydrogen bonding with hydrogen to form H2, or chlorine bonding with chlorine to form Cl2. But on the other hand, we could have two different atoms bonding to form compounds. And examples of that are water, carbon dioxide, and salt. Let's have a closer look at compounds. As we've said, compounds are made up of two or more different atoms chemically bonded. This happens in a reaction where the bonding always takes place in a fixed ratio. For instance, water is made up of two hydrogen atoms to one oxygen atom. No matter how much water you have, the ratio is always fixed. Now, a compound can be broken down into simpler substances, such as electrolysis, as I've described, or by heating. Now, let's have a look at pure substances. Pure substances, by definition, are substances that consist of only one type of particle. So, elements naturally are pure substances because they consist of one type of particle. And this, what I'm about to tell you now, is so important. Compounds are also pure substances because every particle of salt is a salt particle. Every particle of water is a water particle. Every particle of nitrogen dioxide is a nitrogen dioxide particle. So they consist of one type of particle, hence they are pure substances. In contrast, a mixture consists of more than one type of particle. Now, elements and compounds often occur as mixtures. For example, the air around us is made up of hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen, and the salt water around in the sea is made up of salt and water. Mixtures can be separated into pure substances by physical means, as we've discussed. But a good example is the evaporation of seawater, where we have salt pans and we allow the water to evaporate and we're left with pure salt. The ratio of the pure substances in a mixture can be changed by simply adding the water back to the salt or adding more salt to the water. So to summarize what we've covered today, we've seen that all matter is made up of atoms, and by having a close look at the atoms, we can classify matter into pure substances and mixtures, and then the pure substances can be classified into elements and compounds based on the number of different types of atoms they are made up of. This is Rob Lodge signing off. Look out for our coming videos on particles and revision exercises.